Hello, beautiful people. Carl here from Games for Internet Headbanging Life, gbhblofficial.com for short. And it's Incineration Fest review. Well, yeah, a video version of it anyway. Got a written version going up in the site soon. But yeah, this is me. I'm just going to talk to you kind of like I was doing before the festival, and now I'm going to do it after the festival. Talking about the experience, the bands I saw, the good, the bad, the ugly, you name it. It is a one-dayer, spread around Camden, of course, across five venues, four mainly, with the Roundhouse opening a lot later in the day. I'll get into that a little bit later on. I didn't go near the Roundhouse actually in the end, but I've heard a few things perhaps about queuing and late opening and stuff like that that annoyed a few people. Looking around, basically looking around in comments and things like that, I can see majority of people seem happy. There are some complaints, a lot of it based around clashes and queues and general busyness. Not to sort of sound like a smart, but I did warn you about this beforehand, man. Like, this is what, my fifth or sixth incineration now, and the second I've done when the Roundhouse has been involved. And whenever the Roundhouse has been involved, well, from the previous time, it can be a little bit of a harder festival to be around, a little bit of a harder experience. And as I talked to you beforehand in the build-up videos, you really got to think about what you're doing at this festival. The idea that you can just leave and jump between venues is just not possible. And if it was your first time, you no doubt will have experienced this. So I hope you planned as well as you could. It is difficult. It can be stressful, and particularly when it was as warm as it was. Some of the venues, the Underworld in particular, was a sweat box. But yeah, I hope you did the best you can. It's never nice when you get to a venue and basically it's just wall to wall packed and you can't see anything, you can't hear anything properly. Everybody looks pissed off. Like, it's never a good feeling. And I did myself run into sort of I had one sort of negative experience in the underworld that I'll tell you about a little bit later on. Enough so that it briefly colored my kind of day. And it took my wife and my brother to kind of calm me down over it because I felt like it was so like unnecessary what happened. And even now when I reflected, I'm kind of still just like, oh, I wish that hadn't happened, but it did. So what are you going to do? But overall, my experience was pretty great. I had a lot of fun at this festival. I saw some great bands. I feel like I kind of get it now, and I was able to kind of deal with that to a point. There was a period between kind of like Celestial Sanctuary and Black Braid where it felt like everyone was just packed, and Camden was packed, and it was just everyone was sweaty and warm, and yeah, it was just like, oh, this isn't very comfortable. But weirdly, after kind of a certain point, it chilled out, at least from our perspective. And maybe that helped because the Roundhouse was finally open and up and moving, and more people were going up there for the likes of Batushka, Blood Incantation, and stuff like that. And as we said beforehand, once it opened, it was likely a lot of people were just going to kind of stay in and around that area. But it was very busy from the start, which is weird because my favorite moments of the day were in the morning, or well, in the morning. The earliest part of the festival and the later part of the festival. Those were my two favorite moments. The middle was all right, but the top end and the bottom end were absolutely brilliant. And weirdly, that particularly the start was so when it was at its busiest, particularly when we spent some time in the dev. I think I've thought about this. I don't know, like I don't know how they manage it, to be honest. Like, we all know this logistically doesn't work in that you can't have the number of people who can fit in the roundhouse, or even the electric ballroom trying to fit in places like the Devon and the Black Heart. So when I see people complaining about queues to get in the venues or that clashes, like there wasn't enough time for them to go from one to the other, I'm puzzled about what they think it could have been. So this has to be. I actually think the festival could benefit from a few, like another clash or two, in that instead of it being two bands that clash, maybe it's three bands that clash, just so it spreads the crowd out a bit more. It spreads them around different venues because that's the biggest problem. People are like, okay, I want to see all these bands, but so does everybody else. And if there's nothing else on, in the case of one moment, because of a last minute blowout, Gorgon Vomit, who was supposed to be in Black Heart, couldn't attend at the last minute. It basically meant, for one point, Spectral Womb were the only band playing in the Electric Ballroom. I mean, I didn't go near it, but I've seen pictures. So of course the queue was insane to get in and stuff like that. There's nothing else going on, and you pay that much money, you want to see bands. Yeah, I completely get it, but like the complaints sort of about like, oh, there wasn't enough time for me to finish one band and go see the it like if everybody could then just leave a venue and then go to the next one and see the next band, you'd end up with a problem where you couldn't get in. So you'd be queuing and waiting outside anyway. By chance, thankfully, that was an environment. It never occurred to me. I never got to a position where I was having to queue to get into anywhere. There were a couple of times I went and it was really, really packed during a band, so it wasn't always the most comfortable. But for the most part, pretty lucky in that front. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the solution here. I mean, I've got a personal sort of thing. I've got a personal thing, which is either the roundhouse isn't involved, because it seems like whenever the roundhouse is, the second time I've done it, it is a far less comfortable experience overall. And I want the festival to do well, and I want them to sell out, and I want them to be busy and all of that, but like not at the expense of like enjoyment, because it doesn't make you want to attend again, does it? Now, this isn't me complaining. I'm not saying that I didn't enjoy. I really, really did, and I think everybody I was with, Lou, Brendan, Gemma, we all had a good time. Unfortunately, Dan. And Elle weren't able to attend at the last minute, so actually there were two less people there because we had two tickets that we couldn't really give away at the time. But yeah, they both got the flu a couple of days before, and if you can believe that, how unlucky. But yeah, so my overall experience has been good, but I do think, yeah, either if the roundhouse is going to be involved, it is baffling to me that there were only four bands on, and it didn't start till like half four. And doors were supposed to open at four, but I think from what I gathered, they were like 20 minutes late as well, which meant like Mur probably didn't start exactly to a full freaking experience in there. But so you've only got four bands, like an hour plus gaps in some cases, even longer between the later ones where there's nothing really going on at it. And it's a bit like, okay, either open that earlier, even if there's not bands playing, it's a place people can go chill out maybe or something like that. I understand this is a staffing issue and you're gonna have to pay more for staff and all of this stuff. I completely get that. So I understand the logistic problems there. But even then, let's say you do still open at four. Why not have a band or two extra on there and spread it out a bit more? I don't know. Felt like like a band like Decapitated could have done that in there as well. I'm not sure. I'm generally not sure. I'm not sure, but I just know whenever the Roundhouse is involved, it's just not quite as enjoyable a festival. And that's coming from someone that's done it twice now with the Roundhouse and several times without the Roundhouse. I would like to sort of see. I'd like to see a sort of decision be made on that front. We've also talked about. Me and Lou were talking about it the other day, yesterday, should I say, about like how does the festival grow now? Like it's becoming a kind of regular occurrence that it sells out. It's set, so like it kind of feels like is it starting to outgrow Camden? What else could it do? What other venues could it involve? Could it benefit from somehow, I don't know, maybe getting the Coco involved and things like that? Like that, I'm just thinking of another Camden venue, the Camden Assembly. Quite small as well, but is it more of more venues spread out further? Obviously, this is all money and cost, and I have no idea how well Incineration Fest does. Like in regards to, does it make a hefty profit? Does it make a meager profit? Does it break even? Are they losing? I can't. What you presumably not losing fucking money? Not they're selling it out. But there were a couple of odd decisions this year. I think one that's particularly stuck in people's craw. And again, I'm not entirely sure I get it, but like one thing that seems to be stuck in a lot of people's craw is the fact that a couple of weeks after selling out, they then said, "Oh, actually, we've got tickets that basically for everything but Roundhouse." And that's weird, right? That even I'm like, wait, what? Now, how does that work? Like the other smaller venues are already going to be bloody busy because of the size of the Roundhouse and the amount of tickets you might sell for that. But here's tickets that don't include Roundhouse after the fact, because like those tickets have been kind of available, say early on, like you had a choice option. Maybe even sell like a selection of Roundhouse only tickets, which apparently did go on sale or seated upstairs Roundhouse ones at the last minute. I didn't see that. Like I wouldn't have included a roundhouse ticket. Like I might have been like, I'll get a cheaper ticket and get the other four venues and stuff like that. I realize you can't like break the festival up that way. But yeah, I understand why that might have annoyed a few people because they either didn't want to go to the roundhouse and now they were seeing tickets being sold, but also the festival was sold out. How do you? I don't know, like the whole more tickets have been released, but like that tends to happen at the bigger venues. So you understand it being like, more tickets for the Roundhouse were released, not more tickets for that allowed you into places like the Dev and the Black Art, which are already super low capacity, right? I don't know. I don't know. I understand people's complaints. I get it. I think if you were a first timer, you may have like had an unfortunate experience. I've read a few comments talking about it and things like that, and I could just say like I get it. I really, really do. It's an interesting festival. I think does the pretty well overall. But it does need a little tweaking here and there to make um more enjoyable. And this particular one was very busy, and it was hot everywhere. Camden is busy at the best of time. You know, it was a bank holiday weekend in Camden on Saturday, so of course everyone was feeling particularly busy. Trying to walk down the high street from the station down towards the ballroom and up that way. Yeah, it's you know tourists are everywhere, people are everywhere. You can't get mad at people for just going out and about and stuff like that. But I do think I do think it pissed some people off. And I just hope, yeah, I hope you may have had like the best experience you did have, considering how busy and crazy and overwhelming it might have felt at times. The approach to Incineration Fest has to be this, and I said it in the video before, and I say it again. You can look at the lineup and you can see 10 bands and go, I'm going to see those 10 bands. But truth be told, 10 bands in one day at a festival like this is a bit of a stretch. Without you're going to either have to leave things early just to catch both bands. There's going to be clashes galore. You're not going to be able to do it. And there are times when you're simply going to get to places and it's just too busy to get into them. So, you know, you've got to kind of balance them and go, what do I want to do here? And the rule should be if you see maybe 4, 5, 6 bands spread across the day, you've done pretty damn well. And it'll probably allow you a chance to chill out, take some air, get some food, drink some water, hydrate, all these sort of things that can make your day better. Be smart about it as best as you possibly can be. I know we all want to see bands. We all want to see bands. We all want to be packed into the dev to see Death Collective. We all want to pile into the Black Heart to see the likes of Bedsaw and Trivax. We all want to headbang to the Decapitated and stuff like that. But sometimes it's just not going to be possible. So step back, take a deep breath, particularly if you're feeling a little bit stressed out and overwhelmed. And just, you know what? Go see another band. Go to another venue that's gone quiet because there's no bands there. And you'll find room and you'll be able to take a deep breath and then maybe just chill there, get a spot for the band that's about to come on, all these things. That is simply the best approach for this festival. But I only know this because I've done it wrong before. In fact, the last time the Roundhouse was involved, that is where I did it wrong. We did it wrong. We didn't have a very good year that year. It felt incredibly stressful, annoyed. We were constantly, every venue felt packed to the point where we kind of just gave up, sat in a pub, and then went to the Roundhouse and stayed there all day just because it was at least big and wide and open to the Roundhouse. We've now since learned, and I think we did a pretty good job of that this year for the most part. We saw more bands than I've seen. That's the crazy thing. For all of its busyness and you know, how overwhelming it might have felt at times, saw plenty of bands. And that's the thing. That's the overall takeaway here, isn't it? We spend the money and we go to this festival because we want to see these bands play. And there's some mighty, mighty bands, you know, that I got to enjoy. So I'm going to go through now who I saw. Obviously, I wasn't alone in this front, you know, but I can't talk for the others. But I'm going to sort of mention some of the vibe and how it felt like us as a group were vibing. Because we did stay together, bar 1 or 2 bands here. I think we stayed together for the most part. So, as planned, we started our day with Naught and a Black Eye. Actually, before I get to the band, I just want to say wristband exchange, all of that, smooth, quick. Got there about 11:30 to the World's End. There was a bit of a long queue going around the building, but it moved fairly snappy. And I love that. That was great to see. The sun was shining. It felt everybody was in good spirits, and I really, really enjoyed that part of things. So yeah, wristband came super quick. You know, World's End immediately busy. Felt a bit, you know, staff already on it already. It's early, like, you know, early midday, early morning kind of thing. They were kicking ass, and the buzz in the air felt very, very cool. Yeah. So Naught in the Black Heart. Went upstairs. It was nice and busy up there, you know, not pulling in too much for a crowd because from an extreme, like they're an oddity at extreme metal festival like this, you know, that kind of gothic synthy rock thing going on. But it was very, very enjoyable. Love the sparkly jacket the frontman is wearing. Looks great on stage. I thought it was a fun. It was the plan was only able to watch like half of it, about 15 minutes, because I wanted to get to the dev for Cops. And that's what we went next. Went to the dev to find it pretty freaking rammed. Enough so, like, it was almost at the doors. It was like, this isn't that comfortable. We're not off to a great start here. But we managed to squeeze into a nice little spot by the door, kind of out of the way, where people could come in and we weren't blocking anything. And we were then able to sort of watch Cops from the back, which, weirdly, allowed a decent view, at least from my perspective. But not only that as well, made it sound great. I don't know, the distance we were at meant their sound was really clear and solid. And they were brilliant. This was a highlight of the day for me. One of my favorite bands of the day. They just sounded great. 30 minutes of that blackened post-hardcore noise. Absolutely brilliant. Thought they were immense. Would have loved to have seen a bit longer for it. We stayed in the dev. We stayed in our spot. We actually able to squeeze around a little bit more, getting into a better thing. better sort of area there, and stayed there for Death Collector. Doing as well school death metal in the dev. How cool was that? That is literally, and it was great to see more and more people turn up for it. And as people left, more people came in. There was a constant flow of people at the back coming in. And again, that position we had really allowed their sound to carry and sound really heavy and meaty. And it was cool to sort of look and see how crazy it was going on the front. They were awesome. Again, I thought they were brilliant. I was buzzing at this point, put it that way. Uh, so yeah, following Death Collector. This is where we went and got some food. That's right, we went and got some food at this point because yeah, this would have been the Gorgon Vomit Spectral Ruin clash. Now, originally I'd circled Spectral Ruin as a band to go see. Gorgon Vomit fell off. Spectral Ruin, the only band playing. From what I've seen, it probably made the best decision to not go there and go get some food. So we went and ate some Taco Bell. Brendan and Gemma took a bit longer, so me and Luke kind of left them there to then go and watch Celestial Sanctuary in the underworld. We got there just as they were about to start, so it was pretty damn packed. It was a bit difficult to kind of get to the floor. Plenty of room on the floor, but you know how it is at the underworld. You come in, you see, people tend to stand at the top on the stairs, and it's a bit difficult. It's very dark. Some guy in front, in fact, God was wearing a white t-shirt, kind of lit up like a beacon. But I don't know if the air conditioner was broken in there, but it was a sweatbox. Honestly, I did about 20, 25 minutes of Celestial Sanctuary, and I just started to feel a bit rough, like the heat, the warmth, and it was like, you know what, man? Like I said to my wife, like let's go get a drink, some water, and watch the rest of the set from the back. That was the plan. It was very slow getting out, and part of the reason was, so this is the underworld for you, right? The underworld used a cut and the lack of headphones. Now my headphones died. I hadn't charged them, so suddenly just switched off, and I was like, "Oh, that's weird." So yeah, I've had to take them off for now. But yeah, people got a habit of the underworld of standing on the stairs, um, and obviously that makes it basically what it is it makes the floor area really hard to get out of, and it becomes like a single file thing, which it is what it is. No big deal. People want to see, and so you know. But if you're standing on the stairs, you can't be stupid enough to get angry if you get bumped or if someone has to squeeze past you and that becomes a problem for you. Like, you can't do that. Are you absolutely mental? You're going to start getting mad with people because you're standing on the only way in and out of that area, and then you're mad that people want to get past you. Like, are you crazy? So basically, what happened was, so there's a single file slow queue going back up out. We're sort of slowly walking, no big deal, whatever. Anyway, as I was going past some guy who was sort of standing on one of the sort of lower two steps, he pushed me. And he pushed me really violently with his elbow. He went out of his way. I saw him do that. And just went like that to me. And I was like, what the? Like, I knocked him, pushed his hand away and whatever. I'm like, what are you doing to him? Like, I didn't even touch the guy. That's the maddest thing. And like the guy was obviously pissed off for whatever reason and stuff like that, but I genuinely couldn't believe it. I was so taken back that I sort of flicked the back of his head after that, and I was like, oh my God, I was so annoyed. Like, who does that? I was annoyed about my own reaction afterwards as well. I wish I'd just kind of just been like, oh fuck you, dude, and walked away. But I was so staggered that anybody would be so idiotic, so stupid, so selfish. Like, what are you doing standing on the stairs at the underworld and being surprised that someone has to get past you or annoyed about it? Like in venues like this Incineration Festival, you're going to get that mad, you're going to run into a lot more problems. I was kind of stupidly mad. I kind of went to the back of the underworld and I was kind of just spitting like fire. Brendan was there as well, and him and Lou both kind of calmed me down. But I kind of was waiting there, and I was like, this is gonna come back because this guy comes over now. I'm gonna be like, the fuck are you doing? Like, I was that angry about it. I didn't want to get into a whole fight situation, obviously, but I wanted to kind of say to him, like, what are you doing? Why was that? Like maybe then we could have just cleared it up and it was like, look, whatever, like, and we left it and stuff like that. No big deal. But it was a momentary kind of took the shine off my day. Won't I know should have one dickhead fucking ruin it, but like honestly, it was a bit just like what the I could. It might sound like I'm making a big deal out of nothing, but it was genuinely like I was just kind of getting past them, like you kind of squeezing past people as they made it like really hard to get up the stairs, and then I just watched his arm go like that into me, and he's pushing me like that. I'm like, what are you like? Honestly, crazy, crazy. But anyway, I thought Celestial Sanctuary were great. It was just so fucking hot. It was just so hot. But yeah, after the kind of annoyance of that, I took a deep breath, had a drink in the underworld, and then we were like, okay, let's head over and watch a bit of Black Braid at the ballroom. They were awesome. Walked in, it was very busy there. Walked in, they were already playing, but we managed to find a decent spot upstairs. Don't forget people if the floor at the ballroom is busy, go chill out upstairs. You can hear things and see things pretty well up there as well. But yeah, so when I watched Black Braid, they were pretty cool as well. And kind of that point, we decided after that, Black Braid emptied out. The ballroom emptied out naturally. People are going to go check out other bands. The Roundhouse had fully opened now. Batushka were starting up in there. So I imagine a lot of people went up there too. But we thought, you know what, let's chill out here and watch Cryptopsy. And I'm so glad we did. We had a great spot for them and they were awesome. Honestly, one of the highlights of the day. I thought they'd be good. I didn't think they'd be that good. I really, really enjoyed them. Really did. Yeah, up there is one of my favorites of the day. Just, yeah, so much energy, so heavy, so tight. It was great. Flew by. And then following that, we had a bit of a gap. We were going to stay there for Decapitated, but me and Lou decided to head over to the Underworld to see if we could watch a bit of Worm Witch. Happily, we were able to get in for that. Watched a bit of Worm Witch, maybe about 15 minutes. They were pretty cool as well before we went back for Decapitated, and they were awesome as well. Thoroughly enjoyed the shit out of them. Yeah, that was like easy way to sort of end the night, and that was kind of it. We did kind of go right. We weren't going to go up to the Roundhouse for Triptychon performing Celtic Frost. We talked about beforehand. I'm just not a fan. So it wasn't a big deal for me. Undergang wasn't really on the radar. I thought about doing Cruelty, but truth be told, it had been a long day, lots of drink, lots of energy expended. And Brendan and Jen were like, yeah, they're going to go home now. That was a nice way to wrap it up. It was like 9:30, so it's like a, woo, early night kind of thing. But me and Lou decided to sort of wait around a little bit. We waited around and went to the Black Heart for a drink. And then we thought, let's see if we can watch a bit of Five Day Hierophant. We were able to get in upstairs. It was busy, of course it was. But we were able to get in and it was noisy, but like really no in a positive way. Noisy Five Day Hierophant noisy. But yeah, we realized about 15, 20 minutes in that we were both just really tired. And I was like, you know what, man, let's not force this. We've had a good day. We've enjoyed a lot of bands. Let's head home and just relax. So yeah, we went home, got some takeaway food in the way. Came in, munched on that, fell asleep on the couch, woke up at like 2:30 in the morning, super dry mouth, and just go like, and then went to bed properly, pretty satisfied and suffered for the next day. Aside from the negative like interaction experience, there were some positive ones. It was really, really cool to, say hello to a couple of members of Death Collector, Kieran and Mick, of course, as well. That was awesome. CC Lawless, met CC Lawless, that's her Instagram tag. Their Instagram tag. They were really cool to talk to them in the Electric Ballroom, getting into it over Pretoria, and how cool that band is as well. A few of the nice experience were just people just being good, decent people, and just saying hello to people, and just smiles and things like that. And I get it. It wasn't always the easiest way to feel that way when every venue's packed and you're feeling kind of stressed and people are constantly bumping you. Even the Underworld thing, I've kind of gone back in my head and thought, yeah, like, oh man, it must have been so annoying where everyone's just constantly bumping you. And I guess maybe I was just the unlucky one to kind of get the eye of that dude. So, like, no ill will long term, really. We get over it, we move on. And I hope he enjoyed the rest of his day as best as he can. And, that's that. I hope everybody did. I really did, because I really did. I even now I sit and reflect on it, and normally a day or two after, or one day where I'm still kind of feeling the effects of it. And I went straight back to work last night, Sunday night, so I was up all night too after a hungover day. So it's been a bit of a long one. So I'm still feeling a bit frazzled and a bit tender today, Monday afternoon. I still reflect on Instant Positive, where I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm really looking forward to doing it again next year, Roundhouse or not. Take what advice I've said about the festival. If you experienced this year, you will have learned and found what I talked about before and what others have maybe talked about before. In that you just got to take it easy and see what you can see and not worry too much about catching every single band. From what I've seen, most people I think had a good experience, and I think that's going to be the overriding talk post. There's always things every festival can do things better. We know this, but we're not booking it. And I'm certainly not the creative force behind it. So I can only say what I say about the roundness and things like that without any sense of logistics, cost, and all of that stuff. Just from a personal, what I would like experience more than anything else. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really, really can't wait to see what bands are booked next year. When I look at it, I saw what? Naught, Cops, Death Collector, Celestial Sanctuary, Black Braid, Cryptopsy, Worm Witch, Decapitated, and Five the Hierophant. So 9 bands overall if I'm counting just seeing every band. If I'm seeing seeing ones I did full sets for, then probably minus, it was more like six to 7 bands. Because yeah, I watched a fair bit of Celestial Sanctuary, like half of them. Yeah, so like that's not too bad. I've done worse. I've done like 4 or 5 at Incineration Festival and still been very satisfied. Where I've done more and been less satisfied, Yeah, it's a great festival, and I really enjoyed the 2025 edition. I'm going to wrap it up there, but I want to know your experience, really. I really want to chat to you in the comments about this, particularly things that maybe weren't so good for you, or things that you absolutely loved, bands you particularly loved. I've heard great things. I'm slightly regretting not seeing Blood Incantation. It seems like a lot of people really enjoyed it. But truth be told, I wouldn't have been able to go up there between Cryptopsy and Decapitated and get back. And, certainly wasn't the right state of mind for that either. I'm a little bit like, could we have maybe just gone to check out Triplicon? But I was so tired, but bear in mind, I'd been up since 9:30, been on my feet since 10:30ish, in seeing bands from like 1 o'clock. Like, it'd been a long day. So I can only do that in reflection, look back and go, oh, I wish I'd done this, I wish I'd done that. There are bands I wish I'd seen. In between Black Brain and Cryptopsy, I wish I maybe had popped down to see Grief Ritual, but in the Dev, but I'd imagine it would have been packed there as well. But yeah, for the most part, I'm super satisfied. Are you? Let me know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It does help us out. You can find us at gbhbl.com and across all social media platforms. And if you really want to give us a bit of extra support, please consider buying us a cup of coffee over on our coffee page. Thank you.